This is Lady Boulay, and I hope you're having a marvelous day. Thank you for your support. Thank you for subscribing to the channel. Thank you for your thumbs up, for your comments, and thank you for sharing the videos. Thank you for all you do to support the channel. Well, today, I'm making a bold statement. Stop. You're breeding out your greatness. This comes from something that I saw on YouTube a few days ago. There is a black businessman in Atlanta named Dexter Caffey. Dexter Caffey is a businessman who runs a software company called Smart Eye. He travels a lot. He travels in the Middle East and Africa and different parts of the globe. And he says that when he goes places, people ask him where he's from. He says he's from the States, but they want more because they can see he's a black man. So they're saying, where are you really from? So he said he decided to do a DNA test, and he did 23andMe. And the results of that test were shocking, not only to him, but to the international community. It came back that he is a direct descendant of Ramses III, a pharaoh of ancient Egypt. Now stop and let that sink in for a minute. An African-American man whose family came through the transatlantic slave trade ends up in Atlanta, Georgia, by way of some other states, does a DNA test, and it links him to a pharaoh that lived about 4,000 years ago. This man was as shocked as everybody else to learn this. But if you put the headgear on him of the statue that we're looking at and look at their faces side by side, you can probably see the resemblance. He has different pictures of the pharaoh, and he says that he and his brother both look like this pharaoh. So what are the chances that we would discover this many years later? Well, it's the DNA test. And the DNA test is a part of the awakening. So a lot of the lies that have been told can be cleared up. In discovering who we are for real, we have to accept that there is a link between East Africa and West Africa. Dr. Anthony Browder, who is a cultural historian, has done much study in Africa, and he has made that link between East Africa and West Africa and the migration that took place at certain periods of time where East Africans migrated to West Africa. So there's not this big difference between East and West Africans because many of the West Africans came from East Africa. So if we can make that connection and get that cleared up, we can stop people from always yelling that you're a West African, you're a sub-Saharan African. That is why they do that, because they don't want us to make the connection between East Africa, West Africa, and the transatlantic slave trade. But they're all connected according to many historians. And anyway, we should always question why this big effort to take black people out of Egypt and Egypt out of Africa. Why? Except to distort and to rewrite history. Now back to breeding out your greatness. This man's genetics have not been bred out. He still looks like a black man whose family may have come through the transatlantic slave trade, which connects him to West Africa, which would then connect him to East Africa and Egypt. So his family did not breed out their greatness. Being a direct descendant of an ancient Egyptian pharaoh, when there's all this controversy and all of this antagonism from certain people like white people and Arabs and Mediterranean people about ancient Egyptians not being black, to have a black man who is identifiably black to say that DNA evidence says that he is a direct descendant of Ramses III, that is quite spectacular because that puts the argument to rest. What's also important is that he didn't just go out there and make that claim. He didn't know what the DNA evidence was going to say. He just took the test, and the DNA said that he was a direct descendant of Ramses III. This man's family did not breed out his greatness. It is a great thing to be a descendant of an ancient Egyptian pharaoh. With all of the swirling that's going on in America now between black and white people and people proclaiming that love is love, it doesn't matter what race the person is. To a certain extent, that's probably true. But the reality is, and we don't like to bring the Bible into, some people get very offended when you bring the Bible into a discussion, but the Bible specifies that especially the children of Israel should not procreate with other races of people. The reason being that when you do that, you split your loyalties, not because I think the Heavenly Father has anything against anybody, but your focus is supposed to be on Him. But the way we're living in America now, it's almost a badge of honor not to be an identifiably black person. You need to be mixed with somebody else. And it doesn't have to be somebody who's accomplished anything or from a group of people that's known to be great warriors or great writers or great anything. They just have to be not black. They just have to look like somebody else. And then you mix in with that, and that automatically makes a beautiful person in the minds of many black Americans. When if you look at those people, you think they don't look any better than anybody else and don't even look as good as many black people. But in the eyes of the person whose mind has been indoctrinated into whiteness, that person that's almost white, even though white people don't recognize almost white, but in the eyes of that indoctrinated mind, that almost white person is more beautiful and much more valued than any black person. And this mindset is what keeps white supremacy alive and well and thriving, because you are working, when you are a black person and you have that mindset, you are working against your own interest and against your own people, and you're keeping your oppressors wealthy, because you get out there and work and work and work to prove you're good enough and to prove you're good enough for their daughters, and your wealth goes back to them, and they stay strong and wealthy, and we stay weak and poor. It would be to our advantage to take a look at how we view ourselves and how we view each other. Our future really depends on it. It's really not that hard to breed yourself out. And once you're bred out, you're bred out. And the substance and the essence of who you started out to be is gone. And what you become may not be as great as what you already are. In the case of this man was not bred out. He went on and built a successful life for himself here in America with no idea that he was connected to greatness. But the greatness that he is connected to from his past is greater than anything he's connected to now. And just to make the point that it's not hard to breed yourself out, take a look at this. On the left is the iconic superstar singer Diana Ross. On the right is her daughter, Rhonda, and in the middle is Rhonda's father, Berry Gordy. These are all identifiably black American people. This is Diana Ross with the two white men she married. On the left, Bob Silverstein, and on the right, Arnie Nace. She had children by both of these men. These are Diana Ross's biracial daughters by her first white husband, Bob Silverstein. These are her biracial sons by her second white husband, Arnie Nace, who was a Norwegian billionaire. To her credit, Diana Ross has married wealthy white men, and she has done well in her career. But the fact remains that she is breeding out her African DNA. Tracy Ross has not been married and she doesn't have children. Tracy Ross has dated and seems to be attracted to black men. But it is rumored that Diana Ross's children have said that she does not want them to marry black. She doesn't like black marrying black. She wants them to marry white. And she has certainly demonstrated that in her own life. This is Diana Ross's youngest daughter with her husband and two children. Here's her son Evan with his wife and children. And here's her son Ross with his wife and child. And they have another child who looks pretty much like this one. So you see, it doesn't take long to breed yourself out if you're determined to do it. Now back to this daughter. This is the only child that Diana Ross had with a black man. Here she is with her husband and son. Just looking at Diana Ross's family, we could make the case maybe that some of them were determined to breed their African DNA out, and at least one of them was determined to hold on to her African DNA. And this little guy is brilliant. Not long ago, there was a Diana Ross special, and he introduced his grandmother, and he was just mesmerizing. He stole the show. And for all of the brainwashing that's been done in America, and for all of the negative stereotypes and everything that's been done to make us deny ourselves, I still think that many of us have rejected that. And we see the value in remaining true to who we are. And it just might pay off in the long run. We might find out through DNA what our true identity is, and that would be wonderful. But if we breed ourselves out, we'll never know who we really are, because that information was taken from us. And when we have time to think about it, we realize that that information was taken away from us for a reason. Because why would anybody want to take your name away from you, your heritage, your culture, where you came from, your people? Why would they not want you to know that? You were enslaved. You couldn't do anything about it at that moment. So why was it so important for us not to know who we were? That should let us know that something that was not right had taken place behind our backs. But the truth has a way of coming out. No matter how you try to hide it, no matter how long you try to hide it, it will come out. And if we want to know who we really are, it is important for us to stay true to who we are and not breed ourselves out. This man's family stayed true to who they were, and it paid off. Turns out they're descendants of an ancient Egyptian pharaoh, and it doesn't get better than that. Okay, y'all, let me know what you think about the video. Thank you for listening. Subscribe to the channel, give me a thumbs up, leave a comment, share the video, and as always, have a great day.